What's up, everybody, and welcome to Casters of Horror. I'm Chris Mess.
I'm Shane, and this week we are watching Hellraiser from Hulu.
Cool. Yeah, it's a long series of movies, isn't it?
It is a very long series. This is technically the 11th film, although, it's actually a reimagining, so it's not like this isn't a sequel, it's not a reboot, so I don't know.
We'll get more into that a little bit later. First off, we've got some housekeeping already, week one, and some movie news. We're going to start out with a little bit of horror movie news to begin with. First off, we've got Eli Roth. I'm sure you're familiar with Eli Roth.
Sure.
Anybody in the horror community would know who that man is. Anyway, he is. You're familiar with VR, right?
I am. I do have one VR headset. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Eli Roth has now he is jumping into the VR world. He has got a film coming out called Trick VR Treat.
Trick VR Treat. Okay. That's clever.
I am not. Yeah. So anyway, he is jumping into the metaverse. It's going to be on MetaQuest TV. And it's coming out on the 21st of this month. It's got Vanessa Hudgens in it. I was actually looking for where I had it here on my phone, and now I can't find it. So whatever. But yeah, it's going to be coming out on the 21st. And for some reason, he made it very, very clear that it was her first time in prosthetics. I don't know why that was so significant, but he made sure to, let everybody know that whatever.
Well, now anyway, I'm curious because that is a really weird thing to point out. So
yeah. And I think she plays a couple characters in it. I'm thinking, or at least, yeah. So, that could have a lot to do with it. I'm not quite for sure. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to check out.
A VR movie?
VR movie.
Are they going to be like looking at the camera? I mean,
I have no idea. And that's what's really, really strange about it. I haven't seen any sort of trailers. I haven't seen anything else for it, but, I'm interested to check it out. What do you think about all this?
I think there's a definite future for VR beyond just gaming. I've said for years that I think sporting events, concerts could really get into the VR thing. So it makes sense. To do movies. Technically, there are already some types of movies on VR. So
it's a whole different type of interactive at that point.
Yeah.
Some of them horror. I would assume. But yeah, and I was actually going to mention that there's only one other brand of films that have jumped into this. So I'm really, really interested to see what this is going to be like. If it's going to be more like going through a haunted house and following a storyline or something like that. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Eli Roth is directing it. So, Hostel and I'm drawing a complete blank right now, but yeah, it's Eli Roth,
movies.
Any movies. Take your pick. But
could be interesting.
He actually just did a special with the Ghost Adventures guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that one just came out a couple weeks ago. That's still on my DVR to watch.
I haven't watched that show for years.
Yes.
I did used to watch that one quite a bit. Yeah.
I love those shows.
Oh, I love that type of thing. Yeah.
Anyway, second piece of news, and I just found this one out before we started filming. You don't listen to a whole lot of metal music, do you?
No, I don't listen to a lot of music at all, really. So.
At all. You're just a boring individual.
I'm very boring, yes.
Anyway, Corey Taylor of the band Slipknot He's both the frontman, lead singer, the face, behind the mask of Slipknot. Anyway, there was a magazine that came out before Fangoria called The Famous Monsters of Filmland. And he's actually bought the rights to it. It's been a dormant brand for quite a while, but it was famous back in the early days of horror and horror films. And anyway, he has now picked up the brand. He is wanting to run with it, make it a convention presence, and wanting to put movies under it, merchandise, toys.
Nice.
Just make it a thing. Supposedly, he's written about 5 screenplays, according to his interview with Rolling Stone magazine. But it'll be very, very interesting to see where this goes. I think it'll be a really, really big thing, considering the band being a horror-based band anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not familiar with the IP at all, so I'm not really sure. But I mean, hey, any new horror media out there, I'm game. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've got a few things too. You were gonna talk a little bit about what we've got coming up.
So basically, if you are on the YouTube watching this already, welcome, thank you. If you are just listening to the audio version on podcast, you should know we do have a YouTube channel, so look us up there. We will be putting out a lot more of content, not just this podcast. If you want to watch us sitting here for some reason, then
nobody wants.
But head over there. We have lots of plans for content to put out. We're going to be doing trailer reactions. We already have some lined up and ready to go. So head over there to the YouTube channel, search us, Casters of Horror, and make sure to subscribe so that you will know when we have new content coming out.
Yes, hit the big red subscribe button, which should be somewhere over that way or down, depending on where you're watching this. And it should be youtube.com/Casters of Horror here pretty soon. So it'll be the easy way of finding it. So
the quicker you subscribe, the quicker we can get that Casters of Horror.
Yeah, so. Exactly. At least 10 of you. Anyway, well, thank you guys for joining us again. What do you say we go ahead and jump on into our movie review?
All right, let's talk Hellraiser.
All right. So if you have not watched the film yet, stop the show right now.
Spoilers.
Go watch the film. Yes, this will be spoiler full.
Yes.
Now, you actually got me into watching Hellraiser recently. I had not seen the early ones until recently. I grew up very sheltered. I did not watch horror films.
Now, to be clear, so did I, but I somehow caught the early movies in this series.
Yes. So. Yes. You caught those. I caught the other films in VR. We had different tastes. So anyway, the original, it was created by Clive Barker.
Yeah.
There's a story by him called The
Hellbound Heart. It's a novella.
Hellbound Heart. A novella. What's the difference between a novella and a novel?
Honestly, it's just length. Novellas are shorter, and I don't actually know that it might actually just be considered a short story because it's not very long at all.
Really?
So it might actually just be a short story, but it's called The Hellbound Heart. That's what Hellraiser is based on. He still did the writing for the original movie. He basically directed and rewrote, for film.
Yeah.
So based on his own work. So
now, if anybody has not seen the original series, and like we had talked about earlier, there was 10 of them.
Yeah.
10. Where would you recommend? I mean, of course, you'd recommend starting with 1.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
2, go to 3, stop.
I will say that it's not necessary, right? You don't have to.
It's not necessary to see this new film.
No, correct. You don't have to have seen any of them to see the new film. This is a reimagining. It's completely unrelated. But yeah, obviously start with the first one.
So far.
Yes. Yeah, obviously start with the first one, and there are a ton of different opinions. There are so many opinions on, the best place to, or the best movies in the franchise, and all that. So I would say at the very least, watch the first two if you want to watch some before watching this one. And I only say the first two because I feel like those are the ones that this new one is closest to.
Yes. As far as the lore of it.
And just the overall tone, too. Because 3 is good, but I think that 3 kind of goes into more of your, typical slasher. In
a way, yeah.
Yeah. I still like 3.
3 was the one that I really liked.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Because finally we saw the brutality of Pinhead.
Yeah.
The first 2 were just kind of like, I'm here.
Yeah. But, I mean, he was basically a side character in the first 2. But that's true of the Hellbound Heart, too. He barely appeared in the Hellbound Heart. So...
Okay. Anyway, yeah, because when I first watched it, I was like, what's the hype behind Pinhead? Because Pinhead, of course, being the character that's well known for having pins sticking out of his head.
Yeah. Although, and again, I mean, obviously, longtime horror fans probably know this, wasn't called Pinhead.
She calls him Pinhead at that one point. In the first film, she yells at him like, "Get your hands off of me, Pinhead!" Or was that the second film?
Oh, I thought that happened later in the. I don't remember. Maybe it did happen in the second one because I know it was basically something that.
Or it might have been the third. It might have been the third one. It was just kind of a side. Thing where she's just calls him something.
Yeah, because in the original movie, the character was credited as lead Cenobite.
Oh,
right. And in the in kind of like the
Telltale Heart, it was what was it called? The Hellbound
the
Heart.
Hellbound Heart.
Telltale Heart. Yeah. The Hellbound Heart. It was just Todd.
Yeah.
So, Todd.
Yeah. No, it was actually the Hell Priest or the Priest.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, and that's actually what the character's name is in the new one, is just the Priest.
Yeah.
So Pinhead just became a thing that was, a sort of nickname that the crew of the movie gave the character, and it just kind of stuck.
Stuck like a pin. See what you did there.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was created by Clive Barker.
Yeah.
Then totally taken out of his hands in a way.
Oh yeah,
and ran off some weird direction.
Yeah. And to go back to your original question, I would say first 2. If you're really curious, watch 3 and 4, and stop.
Yeah, you had something float across your screen. I was after watching as many ghost shows as I have.
It's an orb. Yeah, I have some orbs floating around.
So if he starts like speaking in like,
if the Mountain Dew bottles fly off the shelf behind me, it's the ghosts.
We are not sponsored by Mountain Dew.
No.
Then again, we will take the sponsorship.
Yeah.
Why not? Anyway, this new version of it, the reimagining, was actually penned by David Goyer, one of the writers of it.
Bruckner. David Bruckner.
David Bruckner was the director.
Okay.
Wrote this was David Goyer. There's too many Davids.
Yeah,
a lot of Davids around. Anyway, he was one of the writers who worked on the new Sandman series.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that yet.
He also wrote pretty much all the Christian Bale Batman movies.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he also did the new Superman movies. And he also did some of the Blade movies. So he's got a lot of stuff that he has done.
A lot of good stuff then, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, his working on this, I mean, you can see it's the story was actually really, really good on this one. I liked it.
I was very impressed with this one.
Well, we might as well just end the podcast now. We were impressed. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah.
Now, the director, was David Bruckner, like you were saying, who 2020 he put out The Night House. He also did the film Southbound, which was the one set in Australia.
I need to watch. What you said? The Night House.
The Night House. Yeah.
I need to watch that because I've heard it described. I haven't seen it. I've heard it described as basically Hellraiser.
Really? Yeah. See, I haven't watched it yet either. And there's probably a lot of people screaming at the screens right now going, "What? You guys have a horror movie show and you haven't watched it yet?" Yes, I don't have time to watch every single thing. And neither does he. I was going to say we have lives, but I don't. He also did The Ritual, which...
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
He also did VHS and VHS 94.
I want to see those. I have not seen
He also did 94 as well. So anyway, and I believe he's doing 99. That one should be coming out here soon too.
I think it is out.
So 99's already out?
I think so.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
I could not remember. But I know that he's got... Oh, wait, nope. He did not do 99. 99 is coming out on the 20th on Shudder.
Oh, okay.
Which we'll show you guys a little bit of that a little bit later too. Anyway, let's just we're kind of going to start at the beginning and just kind of work our way through the movie.
Yeah.
Kind of things that we liked about it, things that we didn't like.
Yeah.
And just kind of go from there. That's kind of how we're going to run these things. So starting off, what did you think of the whole vibe of it?
So at the beginning, I liked that it was kind of a throwback to how the original one started.
Yep.
Right? With someone in, I don't know, assumed, well, this one was definitely another country and some sort of financial transaction going on here.
Yep.
So you have a similar setup, although I liked that the person selling it, the mysterious object in this one, almost seemed happy to be rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like the original where there was something obviously sinister about that person.
Yeah, the person in the original films was selling it as almost he worked for the Cenobites or whatever. This guy was just like, get it away from me.
Yeah.
You know, but he wasn't, I mean, it was more so like, you know what you're buying type thing.
Yeah.
You know, and he was happy to be rid of it, like you said. Yeah. I liked that. I liked that fact.
Yeah.
In fact, I had that down in when I was watching it. I took the notes on that, and I was like, "Oh, they went back to that.
Yeah,
they went back to the selling of the box." And because later on they kind of get away from that in a way. It's kind of like they buy it, but it was more like they were tricked into buying it, or you know, it's so. Well, I like the way that they knew what they were getting into on this.
Yeah. And I mean, in the original, 10 films, as the films progressed, the box became less and less of a thing. It was really just a prop to move to move the film forward, you know?
Yeah.
This one, the box is like a major part, almost a character in and of itself, it seems.
Yes. So. Yes. That was another thing that I really, really liked too, is that in the original films, the box, even though you saw it move and change and do other things, there was really no rhyme or reason to it.
Right.
And in some of it was just like do a thing and then it would go back and then do the thing and then go back. And you were like, okay. This one, there was a purpose. I liked that there was a purpose for every configuration of it.
Yeah. And you don't really know that. Obviously, it's a while into the film before we realize that, because the first time we really actually see it is in the next scene where the guy Voight is, you find out he's the one, right, who sent this lady off to buy it. It's for him.
Yeah.
And
he's a collector of occult items.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's this big
very
room.
Wealthy. Yeah.
Yeah. And
he uses it almost like a game, but it's also an act of worship in a way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do like that they it's like they took some things that were maybe hinted at in the original series and really, really delved into them.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah, it clarified it.
Yeah. Because he's obviously he's luring people, you know, and the first time we see the box, you know, like really is in his big like artifact room, basically.
Yep. Yep.
You know, and it's laying there and it's this longer looking thing. Mm-hmm. Right. And so we don't know, like, well, that's obviously the puzzle box, but why does it look like that?
Yeah.
You know,
it looked like the Leviathan at the end of the first film. The thing that came down from the sky. It
changes into that. But
that's right. That's right. It was like a bow tie looking thing.
Yeah, it was almost like a bow tie. That's a good way to describe it. I was just calling it the rectangle.
Yeah. No, it was like it looked like a really weird bow tie pasta.
Yeah.
That or I was just hungry.
No. You know, what gets me about this is having watched, you know, the trailer and all that before this movie, it sets this guy up, Voight, to be the big bad, right?
Yeah.
And it's not that he isn't. It's just that I really thought that, well, again, spoilers.
Yeah. We're not going to say, I mean, we'll just keep saying it, but we've already told you.
I really thought that he would, I guess, be in more of the movie, but he's really not.
Yeah.
You know, until there's this part and then like the third act, you know.
Yeah.
But he lures in, he has this big party and he lures this kid in. And it's like, I love this moment where, you know, the kid's like, if I solve the box, do I get a prize? And he's just like, I do.
No, but I do. Yeah.
I love that.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. And then the kid does the box. It skewers him right through his hand.
Yeah.
The blood is it's offered. The box drinks it up. I love the fact that the box is drinking it up.
Yeah.
And you see Roland Voight, kneel down before it, almost like he's worshiping it, ready for the Cenobites, you know, because he knows what's coming next. And that goes back to the original references of them as some call us devils, some call us angels, some call us devils.
Demons to some, angels to others. Yeah,
I'm not good with exact quotes.
Yeah, I can't remember,
and that's why you're here.
Yeah. So. What I do like about this is that you get a sense of what's going on, but there's really not much in the way of gore yet, right?
True.
It's obvious that this kid gets hooked and dragged. But then it all focuses on Voight, and then kind of in the background, you see this dude gets like strung up.
Yeah,
I mean, it's almost blurred, you know, so you don't really see too much of it.
Yeah, there is not really any sort of gore or big time brutality or any kind until almost halfway through the movie.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's quite a ways into it. I mean, we've already had some deaths that were implied.
Yeah.
But it takes a while before we get into that.
Yeah.
But no, I dug that. I really, really liked that. And then we end up finding Riley. Riley becomes the main protagonist of the film.
Yeah, and
she's an addict.
To be clear, this happens. He does the thing where you said he bows down and he's like, I am a penitent one or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like 6 years later.
Yeah.
And it's like,
oh yeah.
What?
So, it takes a big time jump.
Yeah.
And supposedly Voight's gone missing.
Yeah.
So, you know, nobody quite knows what's happened to him.
Yeah.
Riley's now on the scene, her and her 12-step boyfriend.
Trevor.
And, somehow he's like, hey, I found this thing. And they go and they find this case inside of a vault or inside of a safe. And inside of it is the box.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, what is it? And then it just kind of sits for a little while again. And some fights, you know, she ends up having a fight with her brother because he doesn't like the new guy. And
because as you said, she's an addict. And
she's an addict.
It's clear to the brother that this boyfriend is too.
Oh yeah.
So he doesn't want.
Bad. He's bad news for her.
Yeah, he's bad news. And the thing is, the moment this guy was like, "I want to go, steal this stuff."
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't trust this dude.
I didn't think much about it.
Really?
I was like, he's a nice guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, well, because when they go in, it's like he's got this big score, right? Because it's rich people. They go in, and now this thing is behind a locked door, and behind the locked door is this locked shipping container, and behind the locked shipping container is a safe, and then the box is in the safe.
Yeah, a box within a box within a box.
Yeah, he even mentions that. Yeah,
yeah.
But
which is kind of the same thing as the house, which we'll get into in a little.
Oh yeah, yeah. But yeah, you're right. They get into a fight because he
thinks she's being an addict again.
Yeah,
which she is.
Which she was drinking. Yeah,
yeah, she was drinking. She ends up getting kicked out of the house.
Yeah.
She ends up off by herself, takes some pills.
Yeah.
And then things start happening with the box.
Yeah.
With her.
And she is tinkering with it, right? She's sitting there playing with it.
She's messing with it.
And like the one thing they make sure, this is a huge plot point, is she's messing with it and the little blade pops out. But it doesn't cut her. It totally misses her.
Yep.
Right? Now, she still starts seeing things.
Yes. The box is pretty much bound to her already.
Yeah.
And it says the Cenobites then at that point say the blade was meant for you, but if not for you, then another.
Yeah, if not you, bring us another. That's so great.
And so immediately her thoughts go to her brother, and the chains come out of her from where she's already bound.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And go and grab the brother.
Yeah.
In his dream.
Yeah. And at this point, she has taken these pills that she had, so it's like, okay, is this the box doing this, or is she just
hallucinating?
Out?
Yeah. So anyway, he gets lured to where she's at, and then next thing you know, he it cuts him.
Yeah.
Because he grabs the blade. And he gets taken away.
Yeah.
And so the brother is gone. And now it becomes they have to find the brother.
Yeah. And this is the first time that we actually, I guess we kind of saw the transformation of the box in the prologue, so to speak.
Yes.
But this is the point where you actually see it shift, because at this point it's in the cube, right? That we all know and love. And at this point, then that's when it shifts to its next configuration. That
little star thing, or triangular. Yeah. It's like a star or a diamond. Well, I guess a square would be a diamond just on its side, but it's almost like that star shaped thing.
Yeah. Well, so the next one I called it the hex, because there is one that looked like more like a star, in my opinion. Okay. So, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does shift at this point.
So so the next thing that I noticed is that the effects between the real world and the labyrinth, or the underworld, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Already the effects become incredible.
Oh yeah.
Just the fact that it can happen anywhere and everywhere.
And that gets really cool later on.
It gets incredibly cool.
Yeah.
So they end up finding the lady. Her and the boyfriend end up finding the lady who had purchased the box at the beginning of the film.
Right.
In the hospital, because they start figuring out that this box has something to do with the brother going missing.
Yeah.
So they want to find out what this is all about. And she's sick in a hospital, breathing issues, whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And she starts warning him about, using it and all this sort of stuff. And she even said that Roland, which was Voight,
right?
The rich guy. She said that angels he would call them.
Yeah.
She goes, but then you would think that a devil would know a devil.
Oh yeah. There's so many great lines in this movie.
Yeah, and then the box gets her.
Yeah,
and then
she's trying to wrestle it away, right? She's trying to
she's trying to get it away from her so that it can be kept away. She gets cut by it,
and she just knows. The moment she's cut, she knows it's over.
Now, the fact that the effects, again, you're starting to see the labyrinth close in around her, and nobody else is noticing.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that they're wheeling her down the hall, and like you start seeing the walls of the labyrinth coming up on the outside windows, and walls shifting and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, because like the walls of the hospital actually start to move, and behind it you see the labyrinth.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
It is. It's so good.
That was just amazing. So anyway, they wrestle it from. Well, she of course dies, but we don't.
Well,
that's another one of those.
This is the first real good look we get at the Cenobites of this movie.
Yes.
And man, are they screwed up.
Wow. Oh yeah. And we see the one where she's got like it's the one where no. This is the first one that comes up is the one that has the tubes up the back of the neck and all that, which is kind of odd because she was on a breathing thing, and then that one comes in acting like it was having breathing problems as well.
Yeah, and is that the one? It looks like it's. I think they called it like the Weeper or something, because is that the one where it's like it's got those black, like it's crying.
I think so. Yeah. So anyway, they did an incredible job with the makeup and everything in this one.
Yeah. The other one with like the stretched out skin. We hear her talk. She just walks up to her and she's like, "Save your breath for screaming."
Yes.
I love that line.
Now, see, what I got from that one is that in the third film, one of the friends of, and I completely forgot the main character's name in the third film.
I don't remember.
Her friend that was with her throughout the whole film and ends up being lured by Pinhead to becoming a Cenobite. However that works, I don't know. Anyway, she had her skin pulled like that. If you remember correctly, and her skin was pulled like it, but you could see her brain through there and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, well, that was a really, really nice throwback to that Cenobite. Anyway, so then it goes on. Riley gets the box back.
Yeah.
She gets into a fight with the boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. He tries to take it from her, says, no, it's ruining you. It's something, blah, blah, blah. It's got its hold on you. And so anyway, she takes it from him and runs off. And then she proceeds to go to Voight's estate.
Yeah.
His manor, which looks to be much farther away than it did with the party. Because it appeared to be in town for the original party, and now it's out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I did also notice that she drove my old Honda. That was what I recognized as soon as she pulled out or drove by in that thing. I was like, "That's my old car."
Nice.
I was like, "Yeah, that's really, really nice." Anyway, she pulls up to the house. It's got a cage around it, which looks a lot like the box. Which I was very, very.
That was cool.
Yeah,
so much of the architecture, not just the cage, but obviously you see in the opening scene where the window that's above the artifact room, it moves and it looks like the box too.
Yeah, like you're inside of it looking around. Yeah. And that was kind of almost a throwback to, which film was it? Was it the
end
one with the architect?
Yeah, so the end of the third movie, the lady buries the puzzle box in the fresh concrete of a construction zone, and at the very end, you see that the building has been built and it's got all the decorations of the configuration, and then the fourth movie picks up right there, basically.
Yeah, and so anyway, it was kind of an interesting little throwback to that, where the architecture is looks a lot like the box itself.
Yeah.
I did watch 4 now that I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked 4. I thought it was all right. Anyway, except for Adam Scott's acting. That was horrible in that one. Oh, it's so bad. Yeah. Oh, I like Adam Scott. That
was like his second ever movie role too.
Oh man, I honestly, when I saw him in that, I was like, oh, he must be somebody's nephew or something. How did he get this job?
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's in the house, she's looking around, and this is where we see the first look at the different configurations of the box.
This is where she finds the journal.
The journal. You find out that Voight wasn't just a collector of these things. He was really studying the box studying the everything behind it.
There's a lot of really subtle, clever things throughout this whole movie, and one of them I found was the journal that she finds. There's a symbol on the front of it. It's the hex configuration of the key of the box, which stands for lore or knowledge. So this is all the lore, and it's in this book. Yeah. It's so good.
There was a lot of subtle things like that. And you even look at some of the, and I'm really, really interested to go back and watch it again.
Yeah, me too.
To look at the different deaths and at what configuration it was each at.
Yeah.
Because there was one of love, power, knowledge, and
the cube we all know is lament or life. So you've got lament, which is life, lore, which is knowledge, lauderant, which is love, liminal sensation, Lazarus is resurrection, and then Leviathan is power.
Yep.
And in this journal, there's a drawing of the Leviathan, which is that big diamond shaped thing, and it says audience with God written right there. So it's like,
which at the end of the second film, we see that descend out of heaven or hell or whatever,
the sky down into the labyrinth,
into the labyrinth. And so it's the same configuration as that, which is also the last configuration before, the audience with God. So anyway, she ends up finding these things. She ends up seeing the Cenobites again. She sees what appears to be her brother.
This is a nice little reference too, right? Because she runs down, she hears him calling, and she runs downstairs or something, I don't know, and she sees him, and she's like, is it really you? And he says, do you want it to be?
Do you want it to be? Yeah.
Well, then
at that point, I'm like, no, it's not him.
It's not. She runs up and hugs him, and then in the mirror, you can see it. This to me was a throwback to like the first and second movie, where he's totally stripped of skin in the mirror, and it's like, ugh.
It's just her fingers are digging into sinew and all this, and it's just that was the first real sense of gore in the movie. You're like, okay, now we're getting into it. So then she screams, the friends show up. We are taking this thing almost step by step. So anyway, the friends show up, and they all kind of get, they're trying to get her out of the house. They're trying to figure out why she's there.
So they do the stupid horror movie trope thing where they all decide to separate.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, oh, let's go here. And 2 of them go off one way. 2 of them go off the other way.
Yeah.
And, the one guy, the boyfriend, he ends up going off, he wants a drink.
Yeah.
So he goes off and leaves Nora, which is one of the friends of Riley's brother and his boyfriend.
Yeah.
Leaves her kind of by herself, and she finds a power panel.
Yeah.
She starts flipping switches, and a door opens up.
Yeah.
So, of course, like any, Scooby-Doo person, she just decides to go into it.
Yeah. Now, and at this point in the movie, I have this note down. I was suddenly like, wait a minute, where's the box? It just, for some reason, that struck me as like, where's the box? Nobody has the box. And incidentally, like right when I typed that, you see somebody's manipulating the box, and we don't know who yet. But somebody is actually solving it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's in the dark.
Yeah.
It's So anyway, she goes into this behind the walls secret passage. The door, of course, shuts. She can't get out.
Yeah.
And she gets mysteriously stabbed with the box. And we all wonder who it is.
Yeah.
And turns out, looking through the cut holes in the pictures and in the walls, is none other than Voight himself, who had survived with a Chevy V6 block engine shoved into his torso.
Yeah. It's like right in his chest, and we don't really get a lot of context. We don't really know what's going on with it yet.
Yeah.
It does go into detail later, but at this point, he's just got some machine, and it's clearly like embedded into him, and it's got like, you can see like the strands of something of his body coming out and like weaving around it. It's like,
but it did. It looked like a Chevy engine to me, just like shoved into his chest. And I'm like, okay. And it's coming out the back. So it's not just in the front, it's front and back.
Yeah, it's straight through them.
Once it starts going click, 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 and winding up, you can tell he's agonizing in pain. And anyway, so she gets stabbed with it, which of course they're trying to get her out of the house. They're trying to get her away because Riley knows what's going to happen next, because somebody's been cut by it. She's been stabbed by it. They get Nora out of the house, throw her into a van, and
this
next
part
thing
is
you know,
so cool, man.
They're driving along, and the ground starts opening up and sinking down. And then you really start seeing how much the Cenobites can manipulate our reality at this point. Which I really, really appreciated about this.
I did too,
because to me, this movie made the Cenobites more sinister than any other film had done.
Absolutely. But it's more of that. Whereas, like you had mentioned, how the third film almost like you get to see just like that demented, like crazy side of Pinhead. Yeah. This one, it takes it back to like the first two, where he's not just like bonkers.
Yeah.
You know, but the priest in this one, they're still very demented and vile, but it's a very like low key, you know, I don't know, man. It's just.
Well, see, what's funny is when they were opening all these different things, they were trapping them.
Oh, yeah.
And was going to make it where it was going to be by their own demise.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, okay, we've cut you off here. Now we've cut you off here. And the ground sinking and opening up these holes. And so they're driving Nora off in the back of the van. And then the coolest version of the back doors of the van kind of open as though it's opening into the labyrinth. Yeah. And the front of the van starts going farther away.
Yeah.
And she's still staying there. And then we finally get to see our first death.
Oh yeah. We do actually get to like see it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So she ends up becoming strung up, and we hear the infamous
chatter. My only complaint about this scene is because the first scene about you see is one of the new ones, like I think call him like the Mask or something. But you kind of just see him in the distance. You don't really get a good look at him. But then Chatterer comes in, and
then Pinhead walks up behind.
There she is, because we have female Pinhead, which is honestly closer to how the priest is described in the Hellbound Heart, is described as, well, first of all, and that was true of all the Cenobites. There was no specific sex. I think there was one that was kind of mentioned as having female features, but for the most part, you couldn't tell, you know, what their sexual features were, and it says, the original book says that this Cenobite has this voice like that of an excited girl, basically. So yeah, we have a female Pinhead, and it, not to get punny, but man, she nails this character. It's so
it really
good.
Did. It really did. And I mean, this was Jamie Clayton played Pinhead. She was on the show Designated Survivor, Sense 8.
Oh, really? Okay.
She was also in the show The L Word, but it was like the Q series of it. It was something later on.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't the original series of it. It was a kind of like Degrassi, the new class or whatever. It was kind of like The L Word, the later lesbians or something.
Yeah.
But it was, I've never seen her in anything. She looked so familiar, but I had never seen her. I mean, okay, I take that back. She didn't look familiar as Pinhead, but seeing pictures of her and everything, she looked very, very familiar. But she did incredible in this.
Fantastic job.
Very stoic, very commanding.
Yeah. She's got that presence that is, commanding is a good word. Even when she's just like standing there, it's this is not someone to mess with. And I love this scene because, like you said, she's got Nora strung up at this point, and you kind of hear Nora's mumbling something, and you get the line from the trailer where Pinhead, the priest, says, "What is it you pray for?" Nora doesn't answer her. She just keeps praying. So then Pinhead leans in and is like, "What is it you pray for?" And I was like, "Oh, man."
Yeah. And it's very, very commanding performance then.
Yeah.
And then Nora, of course, says salvation.
Yeah.
And then she says, what was the line? Where is it? I have it down here. What is it you pray for? And then she says salvation. She goes, "There's no music in that."
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, whoa. And then she says, "There's only music in sensation," or something like, or not in pain, but there's she takes one of the pins out of her forehead, sticks it through Nora's throat, and you see from inside the throat that it goes through, and then Nora's like, "Ah," and she's like, "See, there's the music," or something like that. It's like,
she says, "There is so much more the body can be made to feel, and you'll feel it all before we're through."
Yeah. And then she pulls the pin back out, and you see it come back out. And then next thing you know, Nora goes to pieces in front of all of us.
Yeah.
And Riley looks back in the van.
Yeah.
And
Riley looks up in the rearview mirror just in time to see all this happen.
That's right.
Right. But then when she turns around, it's just the back of the van. And Nora's gone.
Nora's blood splattered all over inside the back of the van.
There is that. Nora is mostly gone.
Mostly gone. So anyway, at this point, Riley decides to throw the box away. She runs out to the lake that I guess was just there. Goes to throw it out into the lake, and Pinhead stops her, or the priestess. I guess we should refer to her as the priestess, since that's what she is in it.
Yeah. I think they just call her the priest, actually.
The priest. Yeah. And then she says, "Wait, not yet."
Yeah.
And basically tells her of how it's almost been a contract in blood.
Yeah.
Well, and makes Riley then cut herself on it.
Oh,
Am I correct in that? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because now it does have her blood.
It has her blood.
She tells Riley, "Accept the pain you have wrought."
Yeah.
And it basically, this is a contract. You're going to bring us, because what is they still need?
They still needed two more.
I think it was two more, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then the last one is her.
Yeah, you had two more. Yeah. and then she got to request anything that she desired.
Oh, yeah.
At this point, unless you got anything more on that scene, because that scene was just incredible.
That was a fantastic scene. The only thing I was going to add is that this is also the kind of the first time you get a full conversation coming out of Pinhead, and it's just such amazing line delivery. It was so good.
Yeah. Timed very, very well, written very, very well. To me, this was the performance that even outshined the one with Nora.
Oh yeah.
To me, this is the one that really set the priest up as, I'm not someone to blank with.
Yeah. And this is where we get the classic line that because Riley asks, "Who are you?" or something like that, and and Pinhead says, "Explorers in the further regions of experience."
Yeah.
And I'm like, so classic line.
It was great. The way that she delivered it. Doug Bradley being the original Pinhead saying the same thing in the first film.
Yeah.
It really brought it back to this point of that it was there was way more to, I don't want to say experience because that would just be too easy. There was just there was way more to them than what we think.
Oh yeah.
It's
for sure.
It was that they were not from here. Obviously.
Yeah.
B, that almost there was like they had said originally in it, some call them angels, some call us demons.
Yeah.
But it takes that point in saying, does it really matter? Is there really a difference? And it just pushes that a little bit beyond. But anyway, so they move on from there. Riley then decides that she has this plan. Chatter is then chewing on the arm of her boyfriend at this point.
Oh yeah,
Trevor,
because he Chatter basically traps them behind the gate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they're stuck behind this gate. Trevor, the boyfriend, he's trying to fight Chatter off. Chatter's starts chewing on the arm of Trevor, and Riley stabs him with the box.
Yeah.
She configures it and stabs him with the box. Chatter then
he just stops.
Yeah.
First of all, he stops and he steps back. Chatterer knows. It's like, I'm done.
Now, what's really, really weird about this is that it shows that the box is even more powerful than them.
Yeah.
That they can become bound to it as well.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting concept because in the original films, you would have never thought that was anything to even think.
Well, except I will say, and see, I had a hard time with this at first because I'm like, first of all, you got to do Chatter wrong like that. But
oh yeah, they should have done one of the new characters.
Yeah. But I also thought that seems too easy because Chatterer, first of all, the priest just stares at almost of this. If this were Jurassic Park, I would have expected her to say "clever girl,"
Yeah, it's like well played.
Yeah, and just the performance of her look right there. That's I almost feel like that's what she says in that look. Well played, because she what does she snap her fingers or something? I don't even remember what she does. Oh no, she just flicks. She flicks her fingers. She flicks her hand and Chatterer.
Just explodes.
But I actually think this was I wasn't sure how I felt about this at first, but then thinking about it later, I was like, well, I kind of felt like one of the big problems with the first movie and several of the movies that came after was, how do they get rid of the Cenobites? One of them solves the puzzle in reverse or something. And the Cenobites are thrown back to And that was always okay. Look, Hellraiser is a classic movie. I love it.
Yeah.
But that has got to be one of the stupidest endings to a horror movie I've ever seen. So, so I appreciated this. That
we figured out the box and put it back together. No.
Yeah. And they do that several times throughout the series. So I feel like this, in a way, captures that, but in a much, much better way. Like you just said, it shows that even they are not as powerful as whatever this box is.
Yeah, the box the box is a contract, no matter who you are, and it's bound by, they are bound to a higher power through it.
Yeah.
Even
I thought that was a much better.
Even the priest herself would be bound to it.
Yeah.
And so, I liked that. At first I was like, what?
Yeah.
Really?
Same.
So anyway, so Chatter's gone. They end up going back into the house.
Yeah.
And they find out that the metal framework is basically a cage that's around the house, and the Cenobites can't get in. That to me was weird. Why could they not get in past these gates?
And either I missed it or they never like really explained it.
I don't remember them explaining it. Yeah. I would go back and watch it again to see if it ever was explained.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being explained.
I don't either. So that was a little like, okay.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, they can't get in, and they're like trying to reach.
Yeah.
I wish this was in 3D right now. It's like trying to reach in.
I will say too, a lot of this whole section, it doesn't really seem like a lot happens. It almost like they lock themselves in the mansion so that the plot can advance, because there's a lot of plot things that have to happen now, right? Because this is, I think this is actually the first time we get a really, really good look at the contraption in Voight's body.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Correct. So. Yeah. And so they're in there. They find out that it has to go through one more stage.
Oh, yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
Riley comes up with a plan saying, hey, let's let one of the Cenobites in. We'll stab it like we did the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get my brother back. Party time.
Yeah.
So she lets one in.
Yeah.
Or they she runs out and she's like, hey, come and get me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I hit my mic.
Yeah.
Hey, come and get me. And then she runs back into the house and they close off some of the gates, and somehow, and I hate this about a lot of horror movies, I don't know how she was that clumsy to run into that pillar and lose the box back behind the Cenobite, and she gets trapped and the box is trapped in with the Cenobite.
Yeah, because she runs into the pillar or something, but I can't remember the full context here, because right before all this happens, she doesn't know, but the audience, we see that my suspicions about Trevor were right, and he had made a deal with Voight to lure a bunch of people. We see that before. We see that.
Riley does not see that, and neither does the boyfriend of the brother. Right. So they are busy taking care of trying to lure the Cenobites in.
Yeah.
And yes, Voight and Trevor have this big conversation saying, you owe me, like, I hired you to do this job. And basically Voight has hired Trevor to lure people in so he can regain control of it, and he's going to have the final wish or whatever.
Yeah. And we this is where we get kind of like the description. I mean, it's right after this that Voight stabs Trevor, or not Trevor, he stabs Colin, which is the brother's boyfriend.
Yes.
He manipulates the box, stabs Colin, right? Yep. Basically reveals that Trevor to Riley that Trevor set them up, right?
Oh, and not just in a how a lot of films do it, where they're just like, hey, we did it, type thing where it's like, ha ha ha, and then it's somehow accidentally revealed.
Yeah.
No, this guy's like, oh, hey, guess what? I hired that guy.
Yeah.
He's been a douchebag the whole time to you.
Yeah.
And so, ha ha ha, you know. So, yeah, basically, he didn't give two F's about anything at this point.
And this is where we get the full description of why all this happened, why Voight disappeared, what's going on. And it's that he chose sensation, which is the liminal. Right. So he chose the liminal configuration, which is sensation. And so how did the Cenobites give him the sensation? They put this thing in through his body, and it's like he says it's like it's got his nerves. Those strings you see are his nerves wrapped around, and he's like,
yep.
Every time it moves just enough right up to the point to right before it goes numb. So they never let him go numb. So every time this thing moves, he's feeling it.
And he's talking with the priest at this point and saying that you tricked me. And they said, you asked for sensation.
Yeah.
And
I love this.
And their idea of sensation was different from his.
Yeah. But I love this because Pinhead's just like, you reject our gift?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And really at this point, you see that, they were like, you killed all these people. You killed all this. Because Riley's even said that you killed all these people. And I don't remember if it was at this point or if it was a little bit earlier, but I know Riley was talking to the priest, and it may have been when she was outside, but she said, you killed all these people. And she goes, we set them free.
Yeah.
And this is when they're outside. That's what it is. Yeah. And this is when Voight's having the conversation with Trevor, but she goes, we set them free. We're giving them we're giving them all these experiences.
Yeah.
And this is where you really find out that the Cenobites know neither right nor wrong.
Right.
Because there is no right or wrong to them. That basically they're giving them this point of just experience and this point of just feeling everything, whether it be pain, pleasure, and all this, because it's just a matter of feeling. And that's really bringing it back to the addict part. Where they go into the things about the addict is so many addictions bring pain just to find pleasure, or just to find something, to feel something. And that's really what this was going in.
Absolutely destructive, but people still seek it out.
Yeah, because they're wanting to feel something.
Yeah, because they want to feel,
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if it's pain or pleasure. That's the same thing with like people cutting themselves. They want to just feel something.
Yeah.
So anyway, so while the priest is having the conversation with Voight, Riley then escapes the little cage thing that she's in.
Yeah.
Steals the box, runs off with it, and they release the Cenobites to have their way with Voight.
Wreak havoc. And at this point, because remember, Voight had stabbed Colin, so Colin's getting strung up with like barbed wire at this point.
Oh, yeah. He's got like these guitar strings almost around his piano wire and all this stuff. And he's getting just pulled. Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, no, because to me, just having that one to me was rougher than the rest of them.
Yeah,
just having that tension pulled on those wires.
Oh yeah,
thin wires. Anyway, Riley then makes a deal with that Cenobite, saying, "Look, you just need someone, right?"
Oh yeah,
and
because is it that Cenobite or is it? I don't remember if it's that Cenobite, the flayed neck. That's what I called her.
Yeah, head.
Yeah, and I don't remember if it's that one talking to Riley or if it's Pinhead talking to Voight, who says that gifts cannot be ungiven, only exchanges can be made. I don't remember who said that.
I don't remember who said it either. But yeah, it was a very, very good point. I think it was I think it was the flayed one talking to Riley.
Okay.
And anyway, she has an exchange, and the exchange was Trevor.
Oh yeah.
And she stabs him with it, and the wires then decide to strip the skin away from Trevor.
It basically does to him. It lets Colin go, and it does to him what it was doing to Colin.
Yeah.
With those wires.
So then the engine is taken out of Voight.
Yep.
Voight thinks that he gets his audience with God.
Yeah.
And there was another thing where the blood is flowing from the box after it's made its final transition, and it's going up towards the glass, towards the god or whatever you want to call it, and it was just hitting the ceiling and not able to go through, and wasn't going through, and just blood's pooling up on the ceiling, the glass ceiling. Anyway, Voight gets taken away, and he gets to experience power.
Oh yeah,
because the priestess says that is what he really desired.
That's what he really wanted, and it's interesting because he gets this when they take the engine out of his chest, his body rebuilds, right?
And I do like the way that they made that look too.
Yeah, very very good special effects.
It was like they took the digital effects and made them look like practical.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's exactly what it looked like. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, and at this point, this chain flies out, and it's almost like one of those big ship chains. You know, it's
almost
not
like an anchor.
Yeah. And it just flies right through him. Right. And that's what grabs him up, because this is the point where Pinhead says, "Tim, you will know our finest gift."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, and what else does she say, man?
And she says, we have so many sights to show you.
We have such sights to show you.
And so he's getting like hauled up into the sky.
Yeah.
And then that's the last of we see, or we think that we see, a Voight.
Yeah, for now. Yeah.
So Riley comes in. She has the box. It's in its final form. The priestess asks what she desires. And you see the brother. It's like they're back in the park. He's talking to her. Please help me. Let me back and all that. And she looks back at the priestess and says, "I don't want anything from you. That's not him. I don't want anything from you. I've seen what your gifts are."
Yeah.
And so they said, "So you've chosen." And what was the original one? Lament.
I love this. I love this moment, because it seems to Riley, and possibly to the viewer, because I kind of thought so too, that like she's just not going to accept any of the gifts. Well, I guess that defeats them. And then Pinhead's just straight up like, "Oh, okay. Well, then you get to live with all the like whatever the
regret, and the pain, and
you've chosen a life of regret, knowing everything you've done and everyone you've lost and hurt. You have chosen the lament configuration."
Yep.
So
to live is to live a life of lament.
Oh yeah. That's what she says.
And so she walks back out to the car. The boyfriend, Colin, is in the car. The brother's boyfriend, and he said, "What does he say? What did you choose? Or did you choose the right thing, or something like?"
I don't remember.
And basically, he said, "Whatever you chose is right." Basically. To leave it be. They knew that the brother was dead. They knew that he was gone.
Yeah. But I just love that. There's no escape. You did all this, and you're paying the price now. You still chose.
Forever. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You still chose one of the configurations.
Yes.
And so, no, that's, Man, what a fantastic end to that arc.
Yes.
I loved it.
Absolutely. And then we get to see Voight.
Oh, yeah. We get to see Roland Voight one more time.
Oh, yeah. All of Roland Voight.
Yes.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
That was almost the Watchmen type moment. If you've not, it was just like, well, that's there.
Oh, yeah.
There's Roland.
His He's getting like the flesh peeled back of his eyes. He's getting pinned.
Oh yeah, he's getting pinned to like a cross almost.
Yeah, it's got like angel wings. So yes, that's what I thought too. This looks like a crucifixion, but it's like instead of a cross, it's like this table and there's angel wings.
Yeah. And he gets like his groin ripped apart.
Yeah.
The skin off his legs and his arms and his face gets pulled. It reminded me, like, you know, when you have like a hangnail next to your thumb, and you pull it and it just keeps going.
Oh,
it was like that.
You just made the whole audience cringe more than they did through any descriptions that we've said about this movie.
Oh yeah. No, that's immediately what I thought. It was just like, just pulls and it's like down. Yeah. So anyway, he gets I don't even know if you want to call it justice, but basically he's just up in the sky almost. And it's very bright light, clouds. It's very heaven-like.
It's not entirely clear, but
it was almost like in heaven there was still pain. It was like it was all one.
Well, and it's like, so does this mean that he's like pinned to Leviathan? He's going to be overseeing all this, or is he basically? It looks like he's being turned into a Cenobite. You know,
I don't know,
but I don't know for sure.
At this point, it's like it definitely leaves it open for more.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So this brings me then to my next question. So, do you think, and do you want more from this series? This particular series.
So, that is a resounding yes from me with some hesitation, because you and I have talked before about how we liked the mystery of the original Hellraiser, but then felt like they went too far in explaining the origins and the lore in the second movie and beyond.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of cosmic horror, and one of the big things about that is that you don't get to know what's going on. The very concept of knowing what's going on is enough to drive you mad. Yeah. I don't want to know, really. I don't want a lot of answers. If they do a sequel, and I honestly, I kind of think they will. They want to. Clive Barker was involved in this movie, right? He wants to do it. David Bruckner wants to do it.
Yep.
It seems to be getting very, very good reception, so I think they'll probably get a sequel. I am all for it. I definitely want to see more of Jamie Clayton as Pinhead. Now, it can be totally different characters. I don't need to see Riley again. She's made her choice, and to me, that's it. Yeah. Yep. I don't want to see her again.
Nope.
But I would absolutely love to delve more into this world, as long as I don't get more answers than I want.
I think Hollywood is too big on origins.
I do too.
Origin stories, like every time we get a new Spider-Man, we've got to have an origin story. It's like, we don't. We know who Spider-Man is. Just get on with it.
Yeah.
I think it just needs to continue.
I do too.
The mystery still needs to be there.
You can expand on the lore, but I don't want to know what Pinhead's origin is in this iteration. I don't want to know.
Hey, and it better not be that it was a human at one point.
Yeah.
That made me so mad.
Yeah.
Anyway, from me, very, very much a resounding yes.
Yeah.
It was like it was fresh. It was new. It was like it was starting.
Yeah.
I could honestly say that none of the other ones could have ever existed. And this is not taking away from Doug Bradley whatsoever.
Right.
His Pinhead was incredible from what it was.
An iconic performance, of course.
They could have started here, and this would have made a whole new series.
Yeah, I agree.
It stands enough on its own that it could make a really, really good series on its own.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, definite yes from me.
Yeah.
Sounds like a yes from you.
Absolutely. I love this movie. I was so happy in this movie. Because I love this series, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure how this was going to work, because we've had like 6 movies. After the first 4, we had 6 more that ranged from pretty bad to just downright awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I wasn't sure, how this was going to go. My expectations of this were blown away. I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen rankings that put it just below the original. And I could see that, absolutely, being the second best in the entire franchise. Mm-hmm. Despite the hate that I might get for this, I could hear a case for it being better than the first one, honestly.
And see, whether or not I get hate for it, I'm putting it as number 1.
Yeah.
And to me, I really like, as somebody who is into filmmaking, somebody who has done this, I really like a lot of newer films, if they're written very, very well. I think that digital effects can do a lot. Though I love practical effects.
Yeah.
I love figuring things out in that way.
Yeah.
I like the concept behind it. I like the ingenuity. However, being able to do what they did with the digital effects in this just took it even farther.
Yeah.
To me, I think it was the best one. I can't say that I've been a fan for a long time of Hellraiser movies, though I did really, really get into them once I started.
Oh, yeah. You didn't want to stop watching, even when I was like, you should probably stop watching.
Yeah, you should stop. You should stop. And I'm like, no, I'm going to keep going. Yeah. To me, I'd put it as number 1. Yeah. And I'm probably going to get a lot of crap for that, like you said. But
the reality is...
it was a good story.
Look, I don't like to be like, to dictate why people like or dislike a certain thing. I don't believe in saying that things are overrated. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if you really think that the original was better than this one, I feel like that's nostalgia talking.
Yeah.
To me, it's like...
it's just your opinion. Everybody has different opinions.
Oh, yeah, and that's totally fine. If you legitimately do think that's fine. That's great. I still think the first one's a great movie, obviously, but man, this one was so good. And if this had been the movie I originally saw, then I feel like if this is the first movie of the series that you saw, anything else is going to be a step down, and that's just how I feel about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, for me, it's 2 thumbs up. If I had more thumbs, I would give it that. If you guys are interested in checking it out and have not yet watched it, which I don't know why you would watch this beforehand, but if you did, thanks, I guess. Make sure to check it out on Hulu, or if you guys want to go back and watch it again, do so, because it's incredible. Yeah. Next up, we're going to show you guys some videos or some movies that are coming out here in the next few weeks. And they should be coming up about now. Ooh, look at that. There's some dates. There's some dates of stuff, and you guys can look at them.
Yeah.
Ooh, I need to see that one. That one looks good too.
Oh, I like that.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, man, I got to watch that one. Anyway, okay, so we're back.
All right.
Next up is a segment to close us out. Shane, you have a story. We like to end this off with something called Real Stories of Horror.
Yeah.
Basically, it is horror stories in the real world. Shane, you had a story for this week. If you want to go ahead and go over it.
Yeah. I feel like this one is more like one that had the potential to be a horror story, but it caught my eye. This actually happened in Indiana, which is where I am. And this is a Catholic school teacher has been arrested after it came out that she had a kill list that included both students and fellow teachers and staff.
Wow.
And this happens because I don't know exactly like the context.
Yeah.
But she had told a 5th grader this, apparently, that she wanted to kill her middle school friends, her high school friends, half of her family.
Oh, wow.
And then that she admitted to this girl that she had a kill list, and then joked to the girl, and that this kill list included students to other teachers, and then joked to the girl, don't worry, you're on the bottom of the list. Right?
Wow.
So the girl goes and tells her guidance counselor. Okay. Guidance counselor immediately gets in touch with, like, the principal, you know? Yeah. They immediately call this teacher to the principal's office, where she admits to having this kill list. Okay?
She's just like, yeah, I have one.
Yeah, I did that. And I think that she didn't specifically name anyone on the list, but she's like, yeah, I have that, you know? Actually, she did name a specific student, but she didn't provide the list. Right? Now, here's where I think that this really actually gets horrifying, okay?
Okay.
The school basically suspends her for the day, sends her home immediately.
Okay. Yeah.
And then waits 4 hours to call the police.
Gives her a head start, basically.
Yeah.
Nice.
So they're like, hey, this isn't cool. You're going to have to go home. And then they wait 4 hours to call the police. And the police, you know, they're like, we're going to go arrest her now. So they do.
So you have this list and everything. Legally, I mean, can they do anything with this? I mean,
I don't know. I mean,
technically there's no crime done yet.
Right. Unless they consider it a threat, an active threat.
But... Well, keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Because I would love to hear whatever happens.
I guess
later on.
I guess I have to say, given the context of the type of school this was at, I guess we're lucky that such a pending abuse was reported at all. Yeah.
Well, considering how it wasn't, you know, under the table or anything like that.
Yeah.
That, you know, it was just stuff that was written down. It wasn't like schoolboys or anything like that. One last segment. What are something that you've watched within the last week or so? We're going to call this little segment Pick or Pass. Okay. It's something that we have watched in the last week, maybe 2 weeks. Something that you will either tell people that they should pick or something that they should pass on. I'll let you go first. What would be something?
Oh man, see, this one's tough because I could say, if the question is pick or pass, I could say yes to this one.
Yes. Okay. No, that works.
So I watched a movie called The Lock-In.
Okay.
And this is from Holy Moly Pictures.
All right.
Now, if you're not familiar with the term lock-in, this is something that church youth groups tend to do, where the youth group gets together and they get locked into the church building for the evening. There are chaperones, of course. You know, it's basically
lots of pizza, lots of
sodas, games,
whatever. Yeah.
Chaperones, so that no sexy time happens. You know,
literally, girls sleep over here, guys sleep over there.
So this movie, The Lock-In, Lock-In is a found footage Christian horror movie.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And it is basically about this lock-in where these three guys, the main characters, they play this funny prank joke and they bring in a porn magazine. And hopefully we don't get flagged on YouTube for that word.
Yeah.
But
Prawn magazine.
Yeah, Prawn magazine. Yep. Right. And they think it's funny. They end up getting caught with it, and the youth pastor's all mad. He makes them pray about it, and they go out and they burn the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then it mysteriously ends up back in the backpack, right? Even though they had burned it. As
they do.
They had burned it.
As they do.
Right? And then ends up, they go to try to throw it away, and the trash can doesn't like that because the trash can just hurls itself right at them. And when they run back downstairs, everyone's gone. They're the only ones there. They do end up finding the girl, like that one of the guys is into, and she's in trouble because she touched the thing. That gives you the mentality of how women are considered. She's in trouble just because she touched it.
Just for touching it.
Yeah. Basically, this whole thing is they get stuck in this lock-in, and it's they've unleashed this prawn demon.
Prawn demon, nice.
Who haunts and terrifies them throughout the night. I say pick and pass because obviously the theme is terrible. A lot of the acting is pretty bad, but at the same time, some of it's actually not bad. I mean, because a lot of it just sounds like just how teenage guys would talk to each other.
Yeah. So it's just bad enough that it's good.
It's just bad enough that it's good. And I will give them credit for something, and that is that there actually is a pretty effective jump scare in the movie. So kudos,
Very, very nice.
Kudos to the makers of the Lock-In. Terrible movie, but
it's a pick and a pass.
It's a pick and a pass.
So, okay.
Yeah. What about you, man?
For me, there was a short film. You can actually find it on YouTube called Goodnight, Darling. It's a short film. It's only about 6 minutes long. But it's got, I totally blanked out on her name. What is her name? She was Anna Sophia Robb. It has Anna Sophia Robb in it. It's on the channel Alter, Alter. But it's this little short story about these two girls, and their mother is not quite what she seems. It's about 6 minutes long. Alter is putting out a series of short films. Every Wednesday, they're putting out a new one. So if you guys want to check them out, please do. I also watched another one of theirs that had Joe Keery in it from Stranger Things.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That one was really good too. That one was How to Be Alone at Home or something like that. And it's like this traumatic, it's like this weird thing of this. Joe Keery's wife has anxiety issues and she gets left at home alone while he goes to work. And it's like all these things that start happening as she mentally spirals out of control.
Nice.
As someone who has high amounts of anxiety and stuff like that, it was really worth the watch. But anyway, check out Alter, Alter on YouTube. Okay. Every Wednesday, they're putting out another short film. So it's worth checking out. I give it a definite pick. Yeah. But anyway, that wraps it up for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for sticking around as we traveled our way through hell. Shane, where can people find you at? Right down below? Yeah. Is this all of our links right here?
As it should be listed below if we've done this right.
Right over here.
You can find me at pretty much all social media as Alone in the Snark.
Yeah, and you guys can find me at What a Mess on Twitter, Instagram, and Discord. Yeah. Anyway, until next week, people, that's it. Yeah. Go raise some hell.
We should mention what we are going to watch next week, or what we're going to discuss next week.
Yes.
Right, Chris? What are we doing?
Next week, we are reviewing Halloween Ends.
Yeah. The final movie in the newest trilogy of
the final movie in the newest trilogy of the last of the first and the second and third.
It's sure to be the last Halloween movie ever.
Absolutely. Just like Jason dies and then he came back. So anyway, check it out. Next week's episode, we're going to be dropping these things every Friday. So make sure that you guys subscribe. And that way you guys can check out all the content. Plus, we'll also have the trailer reaction videos. And then we're going to start doing some commentaries that you guys can listen along the movies with us. Yeah. And what else do we got? And if you guys don't want to watch us on video or can't watch it on video, you guys can also check out the audio version of this in the podcast form, wherever you guys get your podcasts. So until next week, we'll see you guys. I'm Chris Mess.
I'm Shane.
And I don't have a tagline. We'll see you.
See you next time.
Yeah. Whatever. Ha 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 ha.